Wisdom is not so much about knowing. Knowing is damn easy. What is difficult is it something that flows? Is it a flux? When people say, I don't want to look at myself, they are still not telling the truth. The universe is an infinite number of things, and the ego gets no satisfaction with any one thing in the universe. The nature of the ego has to be understood. It's just so damn obstinate. It keeps dying and dying and dying without ever dying fully. It goes through a million deaths because it is the material that troubles you. Your material mind, your material body, everything about you is material. Let there be no diversity, no distinction at all. Let there be just one answer for everything. Wisdom is never about the old. Wisdom is always about the young. Because wisdom requires courage and the energy to spit on the consequences. The wise ones, equanimously poised, disown the results of action and liberate themselves from birth and death. Thus they attain the ultimate state of freedom from suffering, moksha, liberation. Terms to meditate upon. What is wisdom? A very commonly used term, but equally nebulous, used in several contexts that may not necessarily agree with each other. What is wisdom? What is wisdom? What is equanimity? Once you sit on one of the front rows, and then you are in my crosshairs. In some sense, then the session is actually for you, because it is to you that I am speaking, and it is with you that I am having eye contact. So those who are seated on the front rows, they may consider themselves lucky or unlucky, but for sure they have to act responsible. All spirituality is very subjective in the sense that it exists to take care of the suffering of the subject. It is neither objective nor abstract. So I'm not talking to the walls. I'm talking to a subject, a person in flesh and blood, a person I wish to see illuminated and liberated, not a person I wish to see unresponsive. That applies obviously to everybody in this hall and to everybody behind that screen as well. But it's a personal thing. As a human being, as a person, I'm relating more to the ones in the front rows. So if I feel as if I'm meeting with cold responses and leaden glances, that does not do me much good. The work is not that of an individual scientist who might work just to satiate his own curiosity. That's not the nature of my work. I do not work for myself or my curiosity. I work for you. Every word that is being uttered here is for your sake. And just as a doctor needs to be continuously reassured that the patient is getting it, similarly, I need to be assured that you are getting it. Getting it. Or I'm talking to mannequins. And if you ought to behave like a mannequin, then don't occupy at least the front rows. I repeat, it's all very personal. Huh? There is nothing abstract or objective about it. And if you want objective lessons, then you can read books. There you don't have a beating heart speaking to you. But if you come here to attend in person, then you obviously know that it is personal. Otherwise, why must an in-person session mean so much? Yeah? You can sit anywhere in the universe, and why must an in-person session mean so much if you will behave here the same way you behave in front of a screen? In fact, even those who are looking at a screen must behave as if they are talking to a person. Instead of that, we have people looking here at a person and behaving as if they are looking at a screen. Even the screen will feel offended. No? Someone pulls out his heart and keeps it in front of you. And how do you react? Whoa. Whoa, is something happening? What? Deadpan expressions. Give me something to cheer me up. The entire day is a very melancholy story. Every day. Finally, when at the end of it all I come to you, and all I see is wooden caskets expecting to be filled up. It doesn't give me any warmth or whatever. Half of you watch me as if, you have come to a zoological garden, commonly called a zoo. Oh, pretty exotic species, this one. Huh? Who says extraterrestrial life doesn't exist? Here's proof. So, wisdom, equanimity, disowning the fruit of action, liberation from birth and death, Janma bandh vinirmukta. Hmm? And moksha. How many do these make? 5? Oh, 5? 5. Let's explore. If the session has succeeded on you, then at the end of the hour, you will find these 5 as one. You will not need somebody to count them separately as distinct from each other. You name one and you know all 5. And that's a proof that the verse has fructified on you. In fact, that's something that you can use with every verse. And not only in Gita, everywhere. Because if a person is worth listening to, he will never talk of two different things. He will talk of just one thing. So you should be able to see that oneness in the entire corpus of his work. Problem arises when you quote one verse for one specific purpose and another one in another context, as if the two mean different things. All right. So you come across a lot of literature talking of the difference between wisdom and knowledge and information and data. Seen those things? How is data different from information? Information is different from knowledge, and then knowledge is different from wisdom. So what will the Gita say? What is wisdom? Crosshairs. You've heard the term doffing the hat? Yeah, Darius would like to explain. What does that mean and why does it exist? When you go to a temple and in certain institutions, when you are at a place that smells of sacredness, then you, in fact, if you are standing in front of the body of a martyr, then again you called doffing the hat. That's why you keep getting a bit like Anuj. The more you come to realize sacredness in the universe, forget about hat, you lose even your hair. And read in his eyes, he's saying, pot calling the kettle black. Look at yourself, sir. It's fine. Some degree of misuse of authority is allowed, no? What is wisdom? And in that sense, what is the distinction between wisdom and knowledge? What is wisdom? Comes as in, is it something that flows? Is it a flux? Is it a thing? Simple. Simple. Keep it boringly simple for yourself. Whenever something of the high is being talked of, It will point only in one direction. Which direction? The inner direction. That's all. Keep it so boring. Let there be no diversity, no distinction, no entertainment at all. Dull, monotonous, repetitive, boring answer. That's what you should have whenever faced with a question regarding the sacred. Very repetitive. I don't have two answers, just one. What's wisdom? What's self-knowledge? What's liberation? This. Let there be just one answer for everything. Just one answer. It is the set of disparate answers that ensnares you. So wisdom is looking at oneself. That's all. Knowledge is knowing the object of your senses. Knowledge is knowing that. And wisdom is knowing this. Simple enough. Knowledge is knowing that. Wisdom is knowing this. Therefore, it can't even be an either or thing. Knowledge will be very dangerous without wisdom. Wisdom on its own will know the segment of knowledge to be procured. But knowledge on its own will never bring wisdom. So you can be extremely knowledgeable and yet very very unwise. But if you have wisdom, you might not be very knowledgeable, but you will know the right segment of knowledge to approach and acquire. Be it Buddha, Krishna, Kabira, none of them will be profoundly knowledgeable. Impossible. But they'll have the kind of knowledge of even the external world that will facilitate their internal knowing. They'll not collect knowledge for the sake of knowledge. Equally, they'll not be averse to knowledge. You could say it would be a very well directed quality of knowledge, a very purposeful knowledge. Knowing may be little, but extracting greatly out of it. So wisdom isn't about deep feelings. Wisdom isn't about mysticism. Wisdom isn't about abstract concepts. Wisdom is something very simple and, we'll remember, very tangible. Are you intangible? Then how can knowing oneself be intangible? So, are you intangible? No, the one behind you. You aren't, right? You aren't intangible. If you aren't intangible, how can wisdom be intangible? So we'll never try to hide behind abstractions and all kinds of esoteric principles. It is clear, it is direct. It is even verifiable, demonstrable, almost like science. Don't you have experiments in psychology? Aren't those experiments repeatable? They belong to the inner world, don't they? And you can reproduce the results of an experiment as much in India as in America. You conduct it there, you conduct it here, 90-95% chance, similar results. And they both belong to the inner world of what you call as thoughts, feelings, this, that. But all that is still tangible because we know that that comes from tangible material stuff. Where do feelings and thoughts arise from? The body. So if a molecule is tangible, won't the product of a molecule be equally tangible? So that can be measured. And modern psychology has done a lot in that direction. It measures everything. It can even measure the intensity of your jealousy and give you a number. Otherwise, if you visit your psychologist citing jealousy as your problem, how will he demonstrate to you that the fee he is charging is justified? So he'll effectively show you session after session. They charge you on a per hour or a per session basis usually. So every week or every month he'll show you, this is where you stood last month. This is the number. And this is your number now. This is the extent of your improvement. All that can be measured. It's very tangible. Just as knowledge is tangible, wisdom too is tangible. Have you heard of the term obscurantism? That's what the entire field of spirituality is infested with. Talking of things in a way that can never be shown, proven, demonstrated, verified. Just quoting the past or referring to traditions or something. Or referring to subjective experiences that may again not be able to experiments or verification. It's happening. Yeah, it's happening. Science can take care of all those things. Today we even have neurology of spiritual experiences. And many people are using that to call out the bluff of so-called meditation masters. When people say, we are meditating and we are experiencing this and that, at the same time, it is seen and it is measured and it is plotted on a piece of paper. What's happening at the level of neurons in the brain. Because if you're experiencing something, it will have something to do with your neurons. All that is measured. It's interesting. Google or read on chat. Enjoy it. Yeah, that's something.
Functional magnetic resonance imaging.
Wonderful, wonderful. Please read about it and also post on the community for everybody. Getting it? So wisdom is nothing abstract or otherworldly. Wisdom is simply the honesty, the capacity, the courage. I won't call it the capacity, the courage. Capacity we all have. Potential we all. It's about the choice to exercise that capacity. So it's courage. To honestly look at oneself. It's a choice that one makes. Just as it's a choice whether or not to go to a doc. You might know you are ill, But then visiting a doctor entails a certain price and a commitment of time and such things. So several of us refuse to visit the doc in spite of knowing that we are unwell. It's like that, the nature of choice. That's wisdom. Looking honestly at oneself and then not refusing what one sees. Not refusing is a big part of it. Looking is not all that difficult. Acknowledging what one comes to see, that's a difficult bit. When people say, I don't want to look at myself, they're still not telling the truth. It's not that they don't want to look at themselves. They've already looked at themselves and have felt disgusted by what they have seen. They have already looked at themselves. Like this, when somebody does not send me a report, a day end report, it's not as if the fellow does not know the contents of the report. The report has already been made. If not on paper, if not on the laptop, then in the mind, the report has been made, and the fellow has seen the report and felt so disgusted and so repulsed that he has, in his covered eyes, decided not to face it. Not that he has forgotten, not forgotten. He has remembered everything. The report has been made. But the courage to face the report has not been summoned. Getting it? Wisdom. Now, does wisdom look like a seasoned, tranquil, peaceful old man? Or does wisdom look like a young and fierce warrior? Now that's a difference. That's wisdom. Usually, if you were asked to depict wisdom, what would it look like? Lao Tzu or Abhimanyu? Already 84 years when born, with a long, white, flowing beard, about to die anytime. That's the kind of picturization, the visual of wisdom holds for us, no? Wisdom. Old man with nothing else to do, so he is acting wise. No. Wisdom is more like a young Nachiketa or a young Ashtavakra or a young Abhimanyu or a young Joan of Arc. Wisdom is not so much about knowing. Knowing is damn easy. Knowing oneself is fundamentally not very different from knowing the contents of this tumbler. Not very different. In fact, probably easier. Because to know this, I'll have to do something. Knowing oneself, I am the nearest one to myself, no? Why should it even require doing or effort to know oneself? One knows oneself instantaneously, effortlessly. So that knowing part is not the big deal. The wisdom is not the seasoned old man. Knowing is not difficult. What is difficult is the acknowledgement. Facing what you see. And hence Abhimanyu. That's wisdom. The courage to face it. In spite of knowing that if you face it, you will be probably dead, gone. Wisdom isn't old. Wisdom isn't about being mature, it's about being a man. When I say man, I mean human being. So women too are men in that sense. There is nothing called maturity. Maturity is a choice. Maturity isn't about your years. You are mature when you choose to. Else you can remain immature even till the point of your death. It's a choice. In all our fables and all the lok dharmik kathas, they'll always say, and then he saw a wise old man dragging his paralyzed feet towards a dead tree. That kind of a picture. What a sorry picture. What an evil picture. What is this wise old man? Wisdom is never about the old. Wisdom is always about the young. Only the young can be wise. Because wisdom requires courage and the energy to spit on the consequences. You don't really just have to be indifferent towards the consequences. You have to be contemptuous towards the consequences. That's wisdom. Else you cannot look at yourself. You look at yourself, and the question that comes to you is, if I acknowledge what I see within, what will be next? If this question comes and remains, then the whole process of wisdom has stopped. The moment this question comes, it deserves a kick in the butt. Truth is truth, irrespective of the consequences. So, do you see two of these things connected now? Looking within and disowning the fruit of action. What is the number? Number 2 or number 3? Disowning the fruits of action. Number 3. Number 2 was equanimity. Do you see all these three connected now? What is equanimity? The same contempt we are talking of. That's equanimity. Such fierce contempt that you don't even bother to look at the dualistic pair of opposites that present themselves as possibilities of consequences. Sell yourself off, and there are these many goodies to be had. Join the battle, and there are these many wounds to be had. One is so contemptuous of this dichotomous pair that one doesn't even look at it. That's equanimity. My process has stopped. My brief was to know the truth and give myself up to it. Beyond that, I don't have any mandate. Beyond the truth is the consequence or the imagination of it. And I'm not entitled to even consider it. That's equanimity. Equanimity is not so much about saying even the best possible consequence is to be taken as equal to the worst possible consequence. No. Equanimity is when you are so contemptuous, not just indifferent, we said contemptuous. When you are so contemptuous that you forget to even know the variation in possible consequences. When you do something absolutely daring, and somebody asks you, have you thought what can come upon you because of this? And you say, well, yeah, I have thought of it, and many bad things can happen. Yes, I have thought of it, and I also know that I can cop out and shield myself and enjoy certain benefits. I've thought of these things, and then I have said, well, after due consideration, I still want to be with the truth. That's fine. That's not yet equanimity. That's something good. Maybe that's a step in the process, but that's not yet equanimity. Equanimity is when somebody asks you, well, you are getting into something this risky. What will happen of you? And you say, oh, didn't think of it. That's equanimity. Equanimity is not when you consider the whole set of possible consequences and then in a deliberate way you say, well, let's give it a try. That's not equanimity yet. Equanimity is when you do not even consider the consequences. You're surprised when somebody asks you of your exposure to consequences. And you say, didn't think about it. How innocent, no? So innocent. Didn't think about it. What will happen of you tomorrow? Come up with that same face. That's the face you must reserve for those kind of questions, not for me. क्या होगा तेरा? Not doing this much. You're acting too stylish. You have to act totally dumb, exactly the way you are. You have to be yourself in face of such questions. Huh? क्या होगा तेरा? ओह, समझ में नहीं आया सवाल. That's equanimity. All else is just deal making, no? Yeah, I thought of this, 5 possible options, and then I weighed them upon each other, and then I said, well, I think we can take the plunge now. Yeah, the risks will always be there, but this probably is the right time to run some risk. Yes, I understand. That's a bit like, dabbling in the markets. That's not equanimity. Equanimity is not about picking the right stock or options or futures. No, it's not that. A very important feature of equanimity is that it stops. The process stops. You stop. So in my school, there was this prayer. I do not exactly remember when we used to recite it and whether it was a prayer at all or something, but there were these 2 lines. They smell of equanimity. Do your duty that is best, leave unto the Lord the rest. We said equanimity stops. You see the keyword here? Leave. You stop. Your job is to do something and then withdraw. Stop. If you proceed to venture into the consequences, then you are exceeding your mandate. And that's a kind of trespassing you'll be punished for. Your job is to just submit yourself to the truth. What happens beyond that is none of your business to consider. That's equanimity. Equanimity is not about going through good times and bad times equipoised as if both are same. Equanimity is being so submerged, so marinated, that somebody else has to come to remind you that you are passing through bad times. You're so damn immersed, you don't even notice your so-called hardships. If you're conscious of your pleasure and pain and these things, then that simply means that you are biding your time. You are exercising patience, not equanimity. Patience is not equanimity. Patience keeps looking at the watch. Equanimity is about forgetting time. Patience requires that you remember time even more acutely. And equanimity is all about forgetting. I do not know what's going on with me because that's not my business. Yeah, you did all the right things in life. What did you get out of it? A patient answer will be, if I'm doing the right things, one day the Supreme Lord will bless me with the right returns. That will be the answer of patience. And how will equanimity respond? Ask equanimity, you did all the right things in life. What did you get in return? And equanimity will say, never counted. Equanimity will say, never counted. Patience will say, well, one day I'll get the right rewards for my right conduct or whatever. Equanimity will say, already fulfilled and hence never counted. What's the fourth point? Liberation from birth and death. How do you approach the issue of birth and death in spirituality? A few basics. First of all, physical birth and death are for medical science to consider. Adhyatma does not go into that. Basics should never be forgotten. What is the entire field of spirituality for? I began with that today. Freedom from suffering. The person suffers, and the person has to be relieved of the suffering. Right? Now, who suffers? Does the body suffer? So, anything bodily, that's in the domain of science, medical science, pharmacy, all those things. The body experiences pain. So, what you get at the pharmacist is never a suffering killer, it's always a painkiller. When it comes to pain, never come to spirituality because, and if a spiritual Baba says he can take care of pain, you should ask for his B Pharma or MBBS certificates. Because pain is the domain of science. in medicine. Spirituality addresses suffering. Suffering. And suffering belongs to the mind, the sufferer. Good. The mind. So whenever birth and death are talked of, obviously not physical birth and death are talked of. Anything physical, it will always belong to the research lab and the hospital. Or when you are experiencing labor pain, will you go to Babaji? Huh? Birth is the domain of, physical birth is the domain of the hospital, the nurse, the medicines, the doctor. But there are Babajis who take care of all these things. If you want a son, go to Babaji. I don't know how Babaji has exercised such control over his own chromosomes that he can always beget you a son. What kind of birth is then being talked of? What kind of birth? The nature of the ego has to be understood. The ego is not one thing, because the universe is an infinite number of things, and the ego gets no satisfaction with any one thing in the universe, so it keeps attaching itself to and identifying with different things continuously. Since the ego is nothing at all on its own, therefore the only identity of the ego is the thing that it is currently. Every new attachment is a new birth in spiritual terms. Therefore, rebirth in spirituality is not at all about the rebirth of the body. The body is not the domain of spirituality. Please understand. Basics 101. We talk so much of rebirth, reincarnation, everything in spirituality, but that's not about the body. That's about the inner thing. How the ego keeps moving from one object to other in search of contentment that it obviously never gets. That's taking birth again and again. What is death then? Disillusionment. This object now I have seen cannot provide me the stuff, the feeling, whatever, the fulfillment that I wanted out of it. So I'm breaking up. I'm breaking up. And now I'll go and stick to something else. Now this is death and rebirth. Is it the right day to talk of breakups, by the way? I suppose we are closing the day so we can safely talk of breakups now. That's death in spiritual terms. The thing with the ego is it's just so damn obstinate. It keeps dying and dying and dying without ever dying fully. It goes through 1,000,000 deaths. Jag ki marani kyon mare din mein. Every day it dies 100 times and goes through that painful process without ever once summoning the courage to die fully. Getting it? So if that's what birth and death are, what is liberation from birth and death? If you want to be liberated from birth, then you'll have to be liberated from the entire process of birth. What is the process of birth? Please tell me. In your, why do you get attached to that? In your illusion, in your ignorance. In your ignorance. If you are ignorant, then you will definitely take birth once again, identified with something new. So therefore, freedom from birth is freedom from ignorance. Freedom from ignorance. What is freedom from ignorance? Self-knowledge. And that brings you back to point number wisdom. So wisdom is freedom from birth and death. What's number 5? Moksha. Take any of the 4 mentioned above. Any of them can be called as moksha. Is an opportune term ascribed to any of these. Wisdom is moksha. Equanimity, moksha. Freedom from birth and death. What else? One more point. Liberation, that obviously is moksha. Stopping. We talked of that as stopping. Not even disowning. Disowning means as if you really owned it at some point. Disowning is a very weak word. We said a contemptuous cessation. Beyond this, I don't bother to go. I've done my job. And my job is to just, come on. My job, no, action comes later, sir. Choice. Choice is what the nature of consciousness is, not action. The nature of consciousness is choice. Action comes much later on its own. So your job is to make the right choice. Surrender yourself to the right thing. And then be contemptuously dismissive of the result. I dismiss the result. Not that I'll look at the result and say, well, right now it is not good. But ultimately, Satyamev Jayate. No. I dismiss the result. I won't even look at the report card. I'm already victorious. I'll not even so much as throw a glance at the scoreboard. I'm already the winner. Don't even show me what the score line reads. I'm already a winner. That's disowning the fruit of action. A thorough contempt for your own state. I do not care about what has become of me. I cared about the one I must choose. And after that, I just don't care about what has become of me as a result. That's nishkamta. That's freedom from desire of the result. I did what I had to do. What did I have to do? I had to choose to be gone. That's the only thing I could do. Choose rightly. And my choice was in the direction of my disappearance. That's the choice I made. Tu karta. I'm no more there. And if I'm no more there, who the hell will remain to bother about the result? I gave myself up. Now who's there to care about what's happening next? I'm no more there. I'm gone. And that's the choice I made. To be no more. Beautiful words, like in Upanishadic Mahavakya. Be no more. And since you are no more, who's there to wonder what you got out of the deal? Oh, no. The deal was to die. And now that I am gone, who's there to keep the records and balance the books? Come on.
Pranam Acharya Ji. As we have discussed in the earlier sessions, that whenever we talk of both, we consider it as intangible, like because it is beyond the prakriti. But in today's session, we are calling wisdom as tangible. Are not they both are equivalent, like both and wisdom?
Your job is to watch what is tangible. That which is intangible is anyway not in your domain. So why do you want to talk of it? Maybe you want to talk of the intangibles so that you can excuse yourself away from the tangible. That's Atmagyan, to know your real intentions. Let me talk of all the mighty fluff, all the heavenly fog, so that I can excuse myself away from the stuff right there on the ground. I don't want to watch all the shit that's scattered all around me. So what do I talk of? The heavenly fairies, all the intangibles. Forget the intangibles. Even if the intangible is there, what does it have to do with you? Tell me, please. Do you have anything in your apparatus that can sense the intangible? Please tell me. That which the truth is, theoretically, is unavailable to your senses and your mind. So why do you even want to talk about it? But there is a special purpose why we talk so much of the intangible. That's an inner conspiracy, so that we don't have to talk of the tangible. But babe, I love you so much. That's all right, but where is my share of the food on the table? No, but babe, I love you so much. You stole her part of the dinner, and that was something extremely tangible, right? And now, so that you don't have to account for the tangible and explain where the missing pieces of breads are, you're talking of something as intangible as love. Babe, I love you so much, but I'm hungry. No, but I love you so much. Simply the thing is that you have stolen her dinner. And that's why you're talking of all the intangibles. Take this as a thumb rule. Whenever somebody is pontificating too much into the intangibles, know that something tangible has been stolen. Know that somebody does not want to account for something very earthly, very material. And therefore, he is incessantly narrating tales of the immaterial, the otherworldly, the transcendental. But where is my bread? The dumbass has not even fully yet chewed it. And he is trying to narrate holy verses and spitting out pieces of unchewed cud like cattle. But babe, I love you. Here is some tissue to wipe off your face and your falseness. Love is effort and action, and these are tangibles. Love is not fluff. Love is not words. Show me what you have done on the ground. Don't fool me with your hollow vocabulary. Getting it? Yes.
Acharya Ji, if I can ask a follow-up
Sure,
on this,
sure.
like whenever we talk of both, then we refer to the intangible, right? Like whenever we talk of both, because we are
We
pointing
should
to.
not talk of both.
All right. Then
We should talk only of the seen. And we should talk of how, unfortunately, the seer is identified with the seen. The liberated seer is not something your words can ever adequately capture. What's the point in talking of it? That's what has been my utmost effort to try to desist you from not talking of the ultimate. That's been the bane of the entire field of spirituality. Just talking of Moksha Mukti Bhagwan. But Babaji, show me something tangible. Just Bhagwan. Your problems belong to your mortal life. Your problems belong to your earthly existence. And all of that is very tangible. Address it directly with courage. Don't hide behind mystical words. You'd be surprised. But you know what really spirituality is? It is the science of honest materialism. Not just materialism, honest materialism. That honesty is the intangible. That honesty is the thing you can never know the source of. That honesty is something one can only pray for. One can only try to invoke. But that honesty is not light. It is just like light. Light is not what you want to see. You want to see objects in light. Similarly, in your honesty, you want to know material. In light, you want to know objects. Similarly, in your honesty, you want to know material. Because it is the material that troubles you. It is the material that troubles you, your material mind, your material body. Everything about you is material. Honestly knowing the material, that is spirituality. Huh? You'll say, no, but just knowing the material, that belongs to physical sciences, does it not? Spirituality extends to both the material and the seer or experiencer of the material. So, sir, why are you saying only the material? The seer is also there, na, to be known. The seer too is material, sir. When you will look within, you will find yourself all material. And that, wonderfully, is freedom from the material. When you drop all your foolish assertions about being immaterial or transcendental, when you come to courageously acknowledge that both the outer and the inner are just material, that's when something beyond the material just opens up. But we'll not talk of that. That's not to be talked of. We should stop at the altar of the sacred. There are places that one should just bow to from a distance and not dare to go and touch and spoil. Let the sacred be the untouched, the unspoken. Don't just keep blabbering about it. If you have to speak, speak about the material, the tangible. Getting it?
Thank you.
Namaskar, Acharya Ji. There's a small question or a confusion that I have regarding the fact that, as one of your teachings says, that facts lead you to the door to the truth. And then today, as far as what I've understood, is that beyond a point, if you're thinking about consequences, then it's just misunderstanding. Your job is to just surrender to the one. So how should I know that which position do I stand in? Because if I'm a foolish man, then going by today's teaching, I can do a lot of harm to myself by saying that I won't look at facts, I won't look at anything. I don't even know whether I'm surrendered.
Consequences are not facts. Consequences are imaginations. Innocence lies in looking at facts and not bothering about the imaginations of consequences. You're told not to worry about consequences. Consequences belong to future. You're not being told to not to worry about facts. Facts belong to this, that which is. You look at this and you do what is right without bothering about where it would take you. That's innocence.
So forecasting is also not right. Forecasting is, I'm just asking because I don't know that where should I draw the line.
You
for
see, there
myself.
can be things that are specifically being done in the zone where determining the future itself becomes important, because you are playing with, let's say, a field comprised of others. And then it becomes important to forecast. Only then. There is a difference between forecasting and desiring for oneself. I keep on saying 2030, 1.5 degrees centigrade, 2050, net zero. Does not all of that belong to the future? Is the entire field of climate science not about the future? It is. The thing is, are you looking at the future from an egoistic center? Then it's a problem. Whereas if you are only forecasting, not worrying about what the forecast holds for you as a person, that's an entirely different thing. Just download the Acharya Prashant app, and there you go to the community section, and you have live testimonials streaming in at the rate of 1 every 5 minutes. I'm seeing lives change in thousands, if not millions, every day in front of my own eyes. We are doing it.
Right.
We have actually done it.
Join the community of more than 2 lakh participants on the Acharya Prashant app. Your first month is completely free. You'll get full access to Gita Mission. On the app, you will get regular live sessions, daily exclusive conversations with Acharya Prashant, access to the vibrant Gita community, wisdom exams, curated news, audiobooks, quotes, and much more. Search Acharya Prashant on Google Play Store or Apple App Store and download now.